Hello and welcome, dear listeners. Today's story is called The Black Rainbow, written by Amjad. But this is not just a story. It's also a chance for you to learn and improve your English. The story is told in easy English, so you can enjoy the mystery and understand the words. You'll learn how to listen better, speak clearly, and maybe even write your own stories one day. So grab your headphones, sit back, relax, and let your imagination open up, because the world of the Black Rainbow is strange, dark, and unforgettable. Now, let's begin the story. The town of Clear Falls was small and quiet. Everyone knew each other. People worked, laughed, and lived normal lives. But one day, everything changed. A chemical truck crashed near the hills. It spilled strange, glowing liquid into the river. The water turned dark. The air smelled like burning plastic. At first, no one knew how serious it was. The government came. They said, "Everything is safe. Nothing to worry about." But they were wrong. 2 days later, it rained, and in the sky, a rainbow appeared. But it wasn't normal. It had strange colors: black, purple, greenish blue, and white. It looked like a rainbow in negative, like a photo turned inside out. People stood outside to look. They said, "Wow, so beautiful, so different." But the next morning, something was wrong. People started forgetting happy things. One man forgot his wedding day. A child forgot her birthday party. Instead, they remembered only sad things: pain, loss, accidents, fights. They didn't understand why. That's when Ethan, a local photographer, noticed something strange. He took a photo of the rainbow. When he developed the picture, it showed a giant black hand coming down from the clouds. A hand made of light and shadow pointing. But pointing at who and why? Something was hiding in the rainbow, and it had a plan. The strange rainbow continued to appear every time it rained. People in the town of Clear Falls started to feel afraid of the sky. They stopped going outside when it rained. They closed their windows. They avoided looking up. But still, many people had already seen the rainbow, and something had changed in them. Ethan, the photographer, could not stop thinking about the picture he had taken. The photo clearly showed a large black hand reaching down from the clouds. It looked like it was made from light and shadow at the same time. It was not just a shape. It looked real. It was pointing directly at a man who lived on Maple Street. His name was Mr. John Parker. John Parker was a quiet man who lived alone. He didn't talk to many people. After the rainbow appeared, something strange started happening to him. He stopped going to work. He stopped answering phone calls. He stayed inside his house, curtains closed, lights off. Some neighbors said they heard him crying at night. Others said he kept repeating something about the past, something about a mistake. Ethan wanted to understand what was going on. He decided to visit John Parker. When he knocked on the door, there was no answer. But the door was not locked. Ethan slowly opened it and went inside. The house was dark and cold. There was no light, only shadows. The air felt heavy. He called out, "Mr. Parker? Are you okay?" No answer. Ethan walked further into the house. Then he saw John Parker sitting in a chair in the living room. He looked weak and tired, like he hadn't eaten in days. His eyes were open, but he wasn't really looking at anything. Ethan asked him again, "Mr. Parker, what happened? Are you sick?" John finally spoke in a soft, broken voice. He said, "I can't remember anything good, only bad things. Things I tried to forget." Ethan sat down and listened. John said that after he saw the rainbow, he started having memories he thought were long gone. He remembered a car accident from 20 years ago. He remembered losing a friend because of something he said. He remembered every sad and painful moment from his life. But he could not remember his daughter's smile. He could not remember his wedding day. All the good things were gone. He said, "It's like something is taking them away, one by one." Ethan asked him about the hand in the sky. John nodded slowly. "It's real," he said. "It's looking for people. People with secrets. People with guilt. It finds them. It touches their minds." Ethan left the house with a heavy heart. He now believed something supernatural was happening. The rainbow was not just a strange light in the sky. It was something more, something dangerous. He went back to his studio and looked at the other photos he had taken. In another picture, taken from a different part of town, the hand was pointing at someone else. A woman named Clara Hayes. Clara was a teacher, kind and helpful. But when Ethan tried to talk to her the next day, she was gone. Her house was empty. Her phone was off. No one knew where she had gone. It was like the rainbow had chosen her too. Ethan started to think that the rainbow was not a rainbow at all. It was a path for something to come through, a bridge between the sky and the earth. And the hand was only the beginning. The next few days in Clear Falls were strange and quiet. People were afraid to speak, afraid to look up at the sky. Some families packed their things and left the town. Others stayed inside their homes and prayed for the rain not to come again. But the rain always came, and with it the rainbow. Ethan couldn't sleep. Every night he looked through his camera, searching for answers. He studied the photos he had taken. In every picture the hand was clearer, stronger, more real, and each time it was pointing at a different person. He made a list: John Parker, Clara Hayes, then 2 more names: Peter Collins, a bus driver, and Nancy Reed, a librarian. All of them had seen the rainbow. All of them had disappeared or changed completely after that. Ethan went to the local library to search for more information. It was empty. The lights were off. The doors were open, but no one was there. He called out for Nancy Reed, the librarian, but no one answered. On her desk, he found an open notebook. The last page had something strange written in shaky handwriting. It said, "The bridge is almost finished. They are coming through." That sentence stayed in Ethan's mind. What bridge? Who are they? He looked around the library. He found some old books about local history. One book talked about a strange event that happened over 100 years ago. There had been a small village near the river before Clear Falls was built. People in that village had disappeared after a strange light appeared in the sky during a thunderstorm. The only witness was a young girl. She said a rainbow had touched the ground. After that, the village was gone. Ethan now believed that what was happening was not new. It had happened before. Maybe the same rainbow. Maybe the same hand. He needed help. So he went to visit Dr. Susan Bell, a retired scientist who lived outside the town. She had studied weather patterns and light phenomena. People said she was strange but very smart. Ethan showed her the photos. Dr. Bell looked at them for a long time. Then she said, "This is not a weather event. This is something else. Something from another layer of reality." Ethan didn't understand. She explained, "Sometimes energy from the past can stay in a place. If something very bad happens, that energy waits like a shadow. When the conditions are right, that energy tries to return. The rainbow is not light. It is a signal, a doorway. It looks beautiful, but it is made from pain." She pointed to the hand in the photo. "This hand is not made of water or sunlight. It is made from memories, from guilt, from suffering." Ethan asked her, "Why is it pointing at people?" Dr. Bell said, "Because it needs to find anchors, people who carry pain, regret, shame. The hand finds them and uses them to open the bridge. One by one." Ethan realized what she meant. The more people the hand touches, the stronger the bridge becomes. And when the bridge is complete, something will cross over. Dr. Bell stood up and walked to her shelf. She brought back a very old photo. It was faded and torn. But Ethan could see the shape of a rainbow, just like the one in Clear Falls. And beneath it, shadows. Not human shadows. Long arms. Sharp faces. Eyes that glowed like fire. She said, "These are the ones who wait. The spirits. They were once people. Now they are only pain. They want to come back, but they can only come through the bridge." Ethan asked, "What happens when the bridge is finished?" Dr. Bell looked him in the eyes. Her voice was soft, but serious. "Then they walk among us, and they do not forget what was done to them." Ethan left her house in silence. He looked up at the sky. It was cloudy again. He knew what would happen next. The rain would come, the rainbow would appear, and the hand would point again. Time was running out. The bridge was almost ready. Ethan had to stop it, but he didn't know how. The sky over Clear Falls turned dark earlier than usual that day. Thick gray clouds gathered above the town, hiding the sun. The air felt still, like everything was waiting for something. People stayed indoors. Shops closed early. Streets were empty. Everyone knew what was coming. The rain and the rainbow. Ethan sat in his dark room, looking at the photographs again. He had pinned them to the walls. For photos, for people, for names. All of them touched by the hand in the sky. All of them now changed, or gone. Ethan knew the pattern would continue. If he didn't act, more people would disappear. More memories would be stolen, and the bridge would finish forming. He decided to return to Dr. Susan Bell. She might know how to stop the bridge. When he reached her house, she was already waiting outside, staring at the sky. she said without turning around. It's happening faster now. The hand grows stronger every time it finds someone. Ethan asked her, "Is there a way to stop it?" Dr. Bell sighed. "There might be, but it is dangerous." She invited him inside and showed him an old journal. It had been written by a man named Elias Wren, the same person who had recorded the strange event near the river over 100 years ago. Elias was a schoolteacher at that time, and he had survived the disappearance of the village. He had written that the rainbow was not natural, that it was a tear between two worlds. In the journal, Elias described how he once saw a child walk into the rainbow and vanish. He also saw something come out of the light, something not fully formed. A shape that whispered in many voices. It fed on guilt, pain, and sadness. Elias believed that the rainbow was a doorway opened by sorrow, could only be closed by something pure, a memory untouched by pain. Ethan read the passage again. It could only be closed by something pure. He asked Dr. Bell what that meant. She explained, "To close the bridge, someone must stand at the place where the rainbow touches the ground. They must offer a memory that is full of hope, something so powerful and bright that it can push back the darkness." Ethan thought hard. Could he do that? Could he find a memory strong enough to stop the hand? Dr. Bell warned him. But there's a risk. If the memory isn't strong enough, the hand will take it too. You will lose it forever. Ethan nodded slowly. He knew what he had to do. That evening, the rain started to fall. The rainbow returned, dark, silent, glowing with unnatural light. And again, the black hand reached down from the sky. This time, Ethan followed it. He didn't hide. He walked through the rain with his camera around his neck, and his heart beating fast. The hand pointed toward a small park near the old church. That's where the light touched the ground. Ethan stood in the rain, looking at the black light. The grass under the rainbow was no longer green. It looked burned, like fire had kissed it. He stepped forward. The moment he walked under the rainbow, everything changed. The world around him became quiet. The sound of rain stopped. The trees stopped moving. Even the air felt frozen. Ethan heard a voice inside his head. It was not one voice, but many speaking at once. Some angry, some sad, some full of pain. The voice asked, "What do you offer?" Ethan closed his eyes. He thought of his daughter. Her name was Lily. She was 5 years old when she died in a car crash. He remembered her laughter, her drawings on the walls, her tiny footsteps running across the room. He had tried to forget those memories because they were painful, but now they were his light. He spoke aloud. "I offer her smile. I offer the sound of her laugh. I offer the way she hugged me at the end of every day." The light of the rainbow flickered. The hand in the sky paused. The voices in his head grew louder. Then silence. The rainbow pulsed with a soft light. The black color began to fade, just a little. The hand started to dissolve. Not completely, but for a moment it grew weaker. Ethan opened his eyes. He was still standing in the rain, but he felt something had changed. The rainbow was still there, but it had not pointed at anyone new that day. He had slowed it down. He returned to Dr. Bell's house. wet and shaking. She gave him a blanket and listened as he explained everything. She said, "You gave it something it cannot use. Love, joy. These things confuse it, hurt it. You've bought us time." But Ethan knew the bridge wasn't gone yet, only delayed, and he also knew he could not do it alone. After that night, Ethan felt a change inside him. He had stood under the black rainbow and faced the hand. He had given his memory of Lily's smile to the darkness. And now that memory was gone. He remembered Lily, but not her smile. He couldn't picture it anymore. It was as if the brightness in that memory had been taken. Part of him felt empty, but at the same time he knew it had worked. The hand had stopped moving for a moment. The bridge had not grown. He had done something right. Dr. Bell told Ethan, "You gave it something pure, confused the spirits. You stopped them for now, but this won't last forever. The bridge is already halfway built, and the spirits are patient." Ethan asked, "Then what do we do next?" She looked at him and said, "We find others who can do the same. People with strong, happy memories. People willing to give up those memories to stop the hand. If we gather enough of them, we might be able to shut the bridge completely." Ethan nodded. He understood the cost. To stop the rainbow, people had to give away their brightest memories, their joy, their most treasured moments. And those memories would be gone forever. It was a heavy price, but maybe the only way. So Ethan started to talk to people in Clear Falls. He went door to door. He showed them his photos. He told them what he had seen and what he had done. Many people shut their doors. Some said he was crazy. Some were too scared to listen. But a few believed him. One of them was Grace Miller. She was a schoolteacher. She had seen the rainbow twice and said it made her feel sick, like her mind was being twisted. She had started forgetting good things from her life. Her birthday, her wedding, the first time she held her baby. All those memories were fading. She told Ethan, "I don't want to forget who I am, but if giving away one good memory can help stop this, then I'll do it." Another person was Marcus Dean, a young firefighter. He had lost his brother in a fire last year, but he had a memory of them laughing by the river as kids, fishing with their dad. He said, "That memory is what keeps me going. But if it means saving others, I'll give it." Over the next few days, Ethan found 7 people who agreed to stand under the rainbow and offer a pure memory. Dr. Bell helped him prepare. She made notes, studied weather patterns, and used her old tools to track when the next rainbow might appear. Then the weather changed again. The sky darkened. The wind picked up, the clouds gathered in thick layers, and the rain began to fall. Dr. Bell called Ethan. "It's happening tonight." Ethan gathered the volunteers. They met at the church park, the same place where the rainbow had touched the ground last time. The grass still showed signs of burning. The air felt strange, heavier than usual. The sound of rain felt distant, as if it was falling in a different world. Then the rainbow appeared. It was darker than ever. The colors twisted and moved like smoke. And from the center, the hand came down again. Long fingers made of shadow and light, stretching toward the ground. Each volunteer stepped forward one at a time. Grace was the first. She closed her eyes and whispered, "I give the memory of my daughter's first words." The hand paused. The light flickered. Marcus stepped up. "I give the memory of fishing with my brother." The sound of his laugh. Again the hand wavered. One by one they offered their memories. Each time, the rainbow pulsed, and the hand became less solid. When the last person stepped forward, the rainbow began to crack. Not break completely, but small lines of light appeared through it, like a wall beginning to split. Ethan watched with hope. The hand was pulling back. The light was growing brighter. He thought it was working. But then, something strange happened. The rainbow stopped flickering. The cracks froze, and the hand began to move again. But this time it pointed not at the volunteers, not at Ethan. It pointed at Dr. Susan Bell. Everyone turned to her. She stood frozen, eyes wide. Her hands were shaking. Ethan shouted, "Susan, don't let it in." But she didn't move. Dr. Bell whispered, "I thought I could hide it, but I have guilt too. I kept a secret. I knew about this before. I saw the signs years ago. I didn't tell anyone." The hand moved faster now. The rainbow grew sharper, clearer. Ethan ran to her, but the ground under Dr. Bell turned dark. The rainbow light surrounded her, and then, in one flash of light, she was gone. The rainbow vanished. The sky cleared. The rain stopped, but the bridge had grown, and now it was almost complete. After Dr. Susan Bell disappeared into the light of the rainbow, the town of Clear Falls fell silent again. People who had gathered ran away in fear. The volunteers who gave their memories stood frozen. They didn't speak. They didn't cry. They just looked at the place where Dr. Bell had stood a moment ago. Ethan stayed. He knelt down where she vanished. There was nothing left. No signs. No ash. Not even her footprints on the wet grass. It was like she had never been there. But Ethan knew the truth. She had been taken. The rainbow had judged her. Not because of joy, but because of guilt. She had known about the spirits before the spill. She had studied the energy patterns and ignored the warnings. Maybe she thought it wasn't real. Or maybe she thought she could fix it alone. But in the end, the spirits saw her guilt and claimed her. Ethan stood up slowly. He looked around. The sky was still. The wind had stopped. The town lights were back on. But the bridge in the sky, made of that black rainbow, was now nearly finished. Only a small section was left to complete. And when that happened, Ethan knew the spirits would no longer need to reach down one at a time. They would walk across. He went back home and looked through Susan Bell's notebooks. He found drawings, maps, and notes. She had written about a point in time she called the crossing. She believed that once the bridge was complete, the dead would return. Not as ghosts, but as physical beings, with form, with power, with pain, and with a desire to punish the living. She had also written one more thing. If the bridge cannot be broken, it must be reversed. Ethan didn't understand at first. What did she mean by reversed? He thought back to everything he had seen. The rainbow wasn't just light. It was memory, emotion, a collection of the past. It was built from trauma, from guilt, from sorrow. Everyone it touched forgot joy and only remembered pain. That was how it grew, not from rain or sunlight, but from human suffering. Then Ethan had an idea. What if they could feed the bridge something else? What if instead of giving up good memories, they could give forgiveness? Not just happy thoughts, but deep healing. Forgiveness for others. And maybe even forgiveness for themselves. He thought of Susan. She had never forgiven herself for staying silent. That's why the bridge took her. But if people could face their guilt, accept it, and let it go, could it hurt the bridge? Could it make the spirits weaker? Ethan decided to try, but he knew he couldn't do it alone. He called the 7 volunteers again. He told them everything he had read, everything he believed. They met in the library, sitting in a circle surrounded by old maps, books, and Susan's notes. Ethan looked at them and said, "I think we've been fighting this wrong. We're trying to stop the bridge by giving up our joy. But maybe we need to give something deeper, something harder. We need to give our forgiveness." Grace looked unsure. But how do we forgive? And who do we forgive? Ethan said, "Anyone who hurt us, and ourselves if we are carrying guilt. We speak it out loud. We send it into the rainbow. It's not about forgetting. It's about letting go." Marcus nodded. "I've hated myself since my brother died. I wasn't fast enough to save him. I think I can try." So one by one they began to talk. Grace spoke about her husband, who had left her years ago. She had carried pain and anger ever since. But tonight she said she forgave him. Another man, Joseph, talked about a mistake he made at work that hurt someone. He had never told anyone, but now he faced it and forgave himself. Ethan waited till the end. Then he stood and said, "I forgive myself for not protecting Lily. I did my best. I was just a boy." As they spoke, something strange happened. The lights in the room flickered. The air grew warm. And outside, in the sky, the rainbow dimmed. Just a little. But Ethan saw it. It had reacted. The bridge had paused. He knew they were right. The rainbow could be reversed. Not with fear, not with pain, but with healing. Forgiveness was the key. The rainbow bridge in the sky no longer looked as strong as before. After the group spoke their forgiveness into the air, something inside it had changed. The colors were dull now, and parts of the arc looked broken, like glass that had started to crack. Ethan believed they had found the way to stop it, but it was just the beginning. The next morning, Ethan met the mayor of Clear Falls, Mr. Clayton. He was an old man with sharp eyes but a tired voice. He had lost his wife 2 years ago in an accident. Since then, he had become quiet and strict. Ethan explained everything about the spirits, the bridge, and how forgiveness made it weaker. Mr. Clayton didn't believe it at first. He thought Ethan was just making up stories. But then Ethan took him to the roof of the library. From there, they could see the sky clearly. The black rainbow stretched across the town like a wound in the sky. But now it flickered like a bad signal. "Last night, 7 people forgave someone," Ethan said. "The rainbow changed. Just a little. But it changed." The mayor stared at it. So, you want people to stand in the street and say sorry to the sky? No, Ethan said. I want them to speak their pain, their regrets, and then forgive, out loud, together. The mayor was silent. Then he said, if what you're saying is true, we don't have much time. By afternoon, a town meeting was called. Almost 100 people came to the community hall. Some came because they were scared. Others came because they had seen the rainbow change color. Everyone had a question. Why was this happening? Why did the spirits choose Clear Falls? And why were some people disappearing? Ethan stood at the front. He told them everything, calmly and clearly. He spoke about the chemical spill, how it opened a gate between the worlds, and how the rainbow was not a normal rainbow. It was a bridge made from the pain of the living. He also told them about Dr. Susan Bell and how she had been taken. And then he told them about the power of forgiveness. Most people were confused. Some were angry. One man shouted, "My wife died 3 years ago. You want me to say it was okay?" Ethan shook his head. No, I want you to accept what happened. Feel it. And then forgive what you can. Not for them. For you. Because holding pain feeds the bridge. Letting go weakens it. A woman named Clara stood up next. Her son had gone missing during a storm. She always believed it was her fault for not checking on him. Her voice shook as she said, "I've hated myself for 10 years, but if this can stop the spirits, I'll try." Others began to speak. One after another, people shared their pain. Old arguments, broken friendships, regrets about things said or not said. It became a wave of emotion. Honest, raw, and open. People cried. People hugged. Some just sat quietly and listened. Outside the hall, the rainbow began to shrink. This time it wasn't just flickering. Parts of it vanished completely, as if erased. The air felt lighter. The sky looked a little more normal. But the bridge wasn't gone. That night Ethan had a dream. He saw the hand again, the giant, glowing hand that reached down from the rainbow. But this time the hand was smaller. It didn't look as strong. It trembled, as if confused or tired. Pointed at him, but slowly, weakly. Then it faded into the clouds. When Ethan woke up, he understood something new. The spirits were not just angry. They were stuck, trapped between their pain and the living world. They didn't know how to move on. The bridge gave them a path, but the only thing they could follow was suffering. It was like a compass for their lost souls. But if the living changed what they sent into the sky, the spirits would lose direction. They wouldn't know where to go. Forgiveness didn't just weaken the bridge. It confused the spirits. It made them turn away. The next morning, the news spread fast. People had seen the rainbow change. They had felt the difference. Some began to believe. Others still doubted. But something new was growing in Clear Falls, hope. Ethan made a plan. He would take a small group to every corner of the town. They would hold meetings, gather people, speak about pain and healing. Not everyone would join, but those who did could make a difference. One group at a time. One memory at a time. One act of forgiveness at a time. and maybe, just maybe, they could break the bridge completely. Ethan's plan started slowly, but it began to spread across the town. Every evening, groups of people gathered in schools, churches, and parks. They came together not just to talk, but to listen. For the first time in years, people in Clear Falls were sharing their hearts. Some spoke about loss, some about anger, some about fear. It was not easy, it was not quick, but it was real. In a small church near the edge of town, an old man named Henry stood up during one of these gatherings. He had not spoken in public since his son had passed away many years ago. Everyone knew Henry. He was the man who walked with a limp and never smiled. "My son died because I told him to take the long road home," he said, his voice heavy. "I thought it would be safer. That night, a tree fell. He never made it. I blamed the road. I blamed the tree. I blamed everything. But the truth is, I blamed myself." Henry wiped his eyes. "I forgive myself. I forgive the night. And I ask my son, wherever he is, to forgive me too." The room was silent. Then someone else stood up. Then another. Outside, the black rainbow lost another piece. Each act of forgiveness was like cutting a thread in a giant net. And the bridge, the rainbow, was made of those threads. It was holding on to pain, grief, anger, and guilt. But now, thread by thread, it was breaking apart. But not everyone in Clear Falls wanted the bridge to disappear. There was a woman named Martha Cole. She lived alone near the old chemical plant. Many said she had lost her husband in the spill. Others whispered she spoke to shadows. Martha believed the spirits had given her power. She said they listened to her. She wore black clothes, kept her windows covered, and never came to the town meetings. One evening, when Ethan and a group of volunteers went to the eastern side of town, they saw something strange in the sky. A new arm of the rainbow was forming, stronger and darker than before, and it pointed not to a person but to a place. The chemical plant. Ethan knew they had to go there. The next morning, Ethan, the mayor, and 2 others drove to the edge of the plant. It had been closed for years, but the gates were now open. Wind blew through the empty halls, and the air smelled like metal and smoke. At the center of the building, they found something strange. A large circle had been drawn on the floor using ash. Symbols were marked around it, some ancient, some recent. In the middle stood Martha. Her eyes were closed, her hands raised. "I told them I would help," she whispered without opening her eyes. "They want justice. You are breaking their path." Ethan stepped forward. "They don't want justice, Martha. They're lost. You're feeding them more pain. They need voices," she said. "I give them mine." Then the ground shook. The walls groaned. And outside, the black rainbow grew thicker. A second hand formed beside the first. This one moved faster. It wasn't pointing anymore. It was reaching. Ethan called out to Martha, "Please, you can still stop this. Speak your pain. Let it go. You've suffered enough." Martha opened her eyes. For a moment, she looked tired, small, and scared. But then her face hardened. "They're all I have left." Suddenly the wind picked up. Objects flew across the room. A deep voice, not human, spoke through the building. It wasn't one voice. It was hundreds, speaking together, full of anger. Ethan and the others ran outside. Behind them, the rainbow shimmered like fire. But something had changed again. The people of Clear Falls were not afraid this time. When they heard what happened at the plant, they didn't run. They gathered. More people than ever before came to the town square. Hundreds, maybe more. They held hands. They told their stories. They cried together. And then, together, they forgave. At that moment, something powerful happened. The rainbow flickered wildly. Then it cracked. The hand in the sky froze, then began to fade. The second hand stopped reaching. But the bridge was not broken yet. Martha had become a source of pain. Not just her own, but all the grief she had collected from others. She had tied herself to the bridge like a pillar holding it up. And as long as she remained inside that circle, the spirits would still have a path. Ethan knew what had to be done, but he didn't know if Martha was ready to let go. Ethan stood just outside the old chemical plant, staring at the thick, dark clouds circling above. The black rainbow still stretched across the sky, though it now shimmered with cracks of light. The giant spectral hands had faded slightly, but the bridge was still alive. It pulsed like a living thing, built on memories too heavy to carry and pain too old to forget. Inside the plant, Martha Cole remained in the center of the ash circle. She had become weaker, but her voice still echoed, soft and steady, as she chanted the names of the dead. The spirits had tied themselves to her. She had become their anchor. She was no longer just a woman grieving. She was the voice of the vengeful bridge. Ethan knew time was running out. The sky above Clear Falls had started to change. A darkness was spreading from the rainbow itself, falling over houses, trees, and people like a heavy curtain. Birds had stopped singing. Dogs no longer barked. Even the wind had grown quiet, as if the town was holding its breath. The mayor, a kind but cautious man named Walter Briggs, stood next to Ethan. He looked nervous but determined. "We have to bring her back," Walter said. "Not force her, not fight her. We have to reach her." Ethan nodded. "Then I'll go." He walked slowly into the plant. The smell of ash and burnt metal filled the air. The shadows inside seemed to move along the walls, as if the building itself was alive. Ethan kept walking until he stood just outside the circle. "Martha," he said gently. She didn't look up. He tried again. "Martha, I know you've suffered. I know what it's like to lose someone and feel like the world doesn't care." Her voice cracked. "They listened when no one else did. The dead heard me." "I believe that," Ethan replied. "But they don't belong here. They're lost. And you're not dead, Martha. You're still alive. You still have time to heal." She shook her head. "There's nothing left for me." "That's not true," he said. "Look around. This town, these people, they're waking up. They're remembering who they were. Because of you. Because you helped bring the truth out of the shadows. But now it's time to let go." The circle of ash around Martha began to glow faintly. The air grew heavier. You want me to give up the only voices that ever answered me? She whispered. Ethan took a step closer. No, I want you to give them peace. Give yourself peace. Holding on to pain doesn't make us stronger. It makes us sink. You've carried too much for too long. Martha looked at the ashes beneath her feet. Her lips trembled. I can't do it alone. You don't have to. Ethan stepped into the circle. The ground shook beneath him. A scream filled the room. Not from Martha, not from Ethan, but from the bridge itself. The spirits knew what was happening. They were afraid. The connection was breaking. From outside the plant, people gathered. They had come without being asked. Some brought candles. Some brought old photos. Many just stood holding hands. Together, they began to speak the names of those they had lost. It was not a prayer. It was a release, a letting go. Inside, Martha fell to her knees. Tears ran down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered to the air. I'm sorry for holding you here. The ashes flared with a burst of light. The symbols burned away, and the rainbow outside began to collapse in on itself, folding like paper caught in fire. One by one, the fingers of the spectral hand disappeared. The darkness over the town lifted. Then came silence. Clear Falls stood in the stillness. The air was clean, the sky soft gray. For the first time in weeks, no one saw color in the sky, no strange shapes in the clouds. Only a calm after a long storm. Martha sat quietly, her body weak, but her eyes open and clear. Ethan sat beside her, not speaking, just there. What they had witnessed could not be easily explained. Not by science, not by logic, but what everyone understood was this: pain that is not faced becomes something else. It grows into something dark, something that can take over not just one person, but a whole town. And healing, even when it seems impossible, can begin with one voice choosing to speak and one heart choosing to forgive. In the days after the black rainbow disappeared, Clear Falls felt like a new place. The trees still had broken branches from the storms. The streets still had cracks and debris. But something deeper had changed, something inside the people. The memories that had once been hidden, buried under years of silence, had now come to the surface. Some people still felt the pain of their past, but they also started to feel something they hadn't in a long time: lightness. Like a burden had finally been lifted. Martha Cole stayed in the hospital for a while. Her body was weak, and her mind was still recovering. But every day, someone from the town came to visit her. Sometimes it was the mayor bringing soup and newspapers. Sometimes it was children who didn't know her story, but brought her flowers just because they wanted to. And sometimes it was Ethan. Ethan continued his photography, but it had changed too. He stopped chasing strange shadows and signs. Instead, he started taking pictures of people. Smiling people, people hugging, laughing, crying together. His photos weren't just about what was seen, they were about what was felt. One day, a group of townspeople gathered to clean up the area around the chemical plant. It had stood empty for years, a place of poison and silence. But now they planted a garden there. Flowers of all kinds, A sign at the entrance read, "Memory Garden, a place for healing." What surprised everyone was that the sky never went back to being completely normal. There were no more black rainbows, no more spectral hands, but sometimes, just sometimes, when the sun hit the clouds a certain way, people saw soft glows of color, like the start of a rainbow that wasn't quite finished. And when they saw it, they didn't feel fear anymore. They felt calm. Some said it was a reminder, not of the horror they had faced, but of the strength they had found in themselves. Children in Clear Falls began asking their parents about the past, and the adults answered honestly, not to scare them, but to teach them, to help them understand that pain is real, but so is hope, that sometimes the only way forward is through truth, and that even the darkest sky can break into light if you wait long enough. Martha eventually moved to a small house on the edge of town. She never tried to summon spirits again. But every year, on the day the rainbow disappeared, she stood outside and looked at the sky, not waiting for ghosts, but remembering those who had been lost, and smiling because she had finally found peace. As for Ethan, he published a photo book called The Bridge Between. It didn't explain everything. It didn't try to, but it told the story of Clear Falls in pictures before, during, and after. And on the very last page was a simple message. We remember, we heal, we grow. The story of the Black Rainbow wasn't just about a strange event. It was about how people survive things they don't understand. How trauma doesn't disappear, but can be turned into something meaningful. And how the human heart, even when broken, still wants to love, still wants to hope, and still wants to shine. In the end, the rainbow had been more than a warning. It had been a mirror showing the town everything it had hidden. And once those shadows were faced, they no longer had power. Clear Falls learned that healing isn't fast, and it isn't easy, but it is always possible. And sometimes the first step toward it is simply looking up and daring to see the truth. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story and learned something new today. If you'd like to read the full story again or share it with others, you can download the PDF version of this audiobook for free. Just click the link in the description below and get your copy now. Keep learning and stay tuned for more stories to improve your English. Happy reading!